So, look, like, we've been arguing a lot. It hasn't been fun recently. I think it's time to just end the podcast.
You don't listen, do you? All you do is ask me the same questions. How's school going? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts. Literally, they're all thoughts. All of them. Every single one of them. Just follow me around. So negative.
They just follow after me and chase me deep in the dark.
I have to run away from my thoughts. Ugh.
I feel that way too.
Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about?
We're going to talk about the Joker today.
Yeah, we are. Joker movie starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by
Joaquin
Phoenix. He's a walking phoenix is what he is.
Ooh.
This man is a tour de force of action.
Tour de force?
Yeah.
Tour de force?
Yeah,
Tour
of
de
course
force.
he is.
Okay.
Whatever. Oh, fuck, who cares? This isn't French class. This is goddamn
Tour de force.
saying shit. Alright, so we're gonna start this shit out. It's the spooky season, where it's Halloween right now. So we're gonna just, talk about
Spooky
this.
season's the best season.
It really is the best season. I love it. Love Halloween. And this is a perfect movie to start talking about shit like
Absolutely.
this. So, let's begin. What'd you think of the movie, Nate?
Fantastic movie. I don't care what any fucking critic says. It is a fantastic movie. One of my favorites. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And it creeped me the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, yeah.
But I loved it.
Creepy ass movie. It was good. I really liked it too. I feel like it's good because you and I have had some disappointing movies over the couple
this whole
of
year
times.
so far.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed a few more. He was looking forward to It Chapter 2. Big letdown. Another clown movie.
See, it's funny because I keep going back to It Chapter 2. And I'm like, you know what? It was a good movie.
No, it wasn't.
It was, and then I think about it more, it's like, fuck, it was disappointing.
Fucking clown.
No, the only thing that pissed me off, the con didn't piss me off. It was the fact, whenever we cut to the scene and I see a CGI Richie, I'm like, what the fuck are you? You look horrible. You look like a freak. You and your fucking bug eyes.
We're not talking about that shit. We're talking about The Joker, a good movie, a movie that we've all been waiting for, a movie that, god damn it, gave a pretty damn good performance from Heath Ledger, from Joaquin Phoenix. No, Heath Ledger was the other guy. So let's start about this. We're gonna talk about this in terms of like what we thought of the movie, which we did. We also want to talk more about like some of like the deeper elements of this movie, and also get into some of the more controversial elements of the movie, things that people have been talking about, and just all this shit this whole shit storm that's been going on Twitter and social media and everything online. We want to talk about that type of stuff right here and now. So, spoilers ahead if you haven't seen the movie. So, Arthur Fleck, the Joker, he's a kind of a crazy son of a bitch. Even from the get-go,
Absolutely.
the man's a nut. He has his laughing disorder, which is something that's very new to the Joker. I don't remember anyone ever having
Very controversial.
Yeah.
Because we're not entirely sure, first off, if the laugh itself is truly a diagnosed thing, and if he's giving the card just to kind of stir the pot a little bit more,
maybe,
or if it was something that was actually diagnosed and someone actually gave him the card.
Yeah, I kind of like to think it was real. I like to think he couldn't, like, it looked like it hurt at times to laugh. Like, he'd laugh for so long, uncontrollably, and then just be like, like it was getting caught in his throat. Like, he couldn't stop.
Right.
And I'm like, shit, that's a really cool thing to look at the Joker with. Like, I've never seen anything do that before. I love that. It's just clever shit like that. But yeah, other than that disorder, the man, he straight up imagines different people. Like, of course, you'll know if you've seen the movie, one of the big twists, he imagines that the hot chick, played by Zazie Beetz, don't even remember the actress's name is Zazie Beetz, but I forget the character's name. He imagines that she's his girlfriend. And then there's like that moment in the movie where she comes out, he broke into her apartment and she's like, "You're Arthur, right? Can you please leave?" Like, what? You two were dating. And it's like, it was all a dream, or it was all bullshit. Oof.
I think it was at that point in the movie that I was like, yep, this is enjoyable. Yeah. This is awesome. It is important to note as well, and I think something that kind of and we will talk a little bit later on about how people didn't necessarily enjoy the movie. We touched a little bit on earlier whenever I said that I don't care what other people think about it.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of person that think movies need to be realistic.
Yeah.
As a whole, his disorder, his illness, it's not realistic.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
not all that realistic. The part that kind of causes an issue with it is that you have a man that is overwhelmingly just a failure of the healthcare system.
Yeah.
Turned horrible, turned into a villain. And kind of what me and him were talking about before we even started this was he's fighting something that is just in its own way.
Yeah.
In a horrendously unjust way.
Yeah, he does some very dark things. Many of these things people have called out on. Like, he kills multiple people in the movie, starts a movement not on purpose, but accidentally starts this clown movement against Thomas Trump Wayne. Yeah, that was a little obvious who they were trying to parody right there. But yeah, like, it's just shit like that. Yeah, it talks about things in our world that are actually kind of happening, like the healthcare system, how people that need the help the most sometimes don't get it, and then it's who's to blame? Is it the really wealthy? Probably is the government need to step in more? It doesn't give you an answer, is what I think is good in the movie. Like, it just says, hey, this happened. What do you think about it, person who's watching? And I think that's a good thing for this movie to have. Right. I like that.
I think it's one of few movies, especially nowadays, that will just leave you with a question.
Yeah.
And it's not a question just in regards to the movie. It's a question in regards to how society is being ran and what needs to change about it. And it's not just a closed question. They offer several open-ended questions of, hey, is this how the healthcare system should provide? Is this how the ultra-wealthy should really treat their citizens? Right. And so on and so forth.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Friggin' elections coming up next year. This is gonna be a big question. This is what the Burn's been talking about. Oh, Bernie Sanders! You gotta vote for me before I have another heart attack. Do it now. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's all types of stuff, which I guess now would be a good time to get into the real world controversy of this movie. Mm-hmm. People either love or hate this movie. I've been dumbfounded to find anyone that either goes, it was okay, I'm in the middle. It's either like, brilliant movie, Oscars all across the board, phenomenally filmed, acted. Joaquin Phoenix is a walking phoenix of fire and acting, or it's like, this is a terrible movie. It's just too bad. It's too violent. It's too dark. It shouldn't represent like mental health in the right way. It should be banned and shit. Like, it's very across the board. Like, it's either people hate it, they want to turn it into a pariah, or they want to put it on their shoulders and give it all the awards. It's so weird. It's insane.
I think really where the problem lies with the movie itself is, I think most people in I was going to say country, but most people in general, they have a very steadfast opinion on something, and they aren't able to break that opinion to just watch something and take someone else's opinion. No. And it's kind of weird because whenever I get asked about the movie, even just with other friends, whenever I start giving my opinion on it, they automatically assume that I didn't really enjoy it, when in reality, I love the movie. Yeah. But what I was saying earlier, as far as mental illness, it should not be portrayed that way. That's not how mental illness is. And I think that itself can and more than likely will damage a lot of people that do see the movie. Right. Because I think they would look at themselves as, is that really how society sees me? As this villainous monster. When in reality, no, once again, failed healthcare system, that's why I'm so fucked up right now, for lack of better words.
I guess what would, like, combat that? Like, 'cause I don't know, I don't entirely agree or disagree with that. I kind of think, like, people do insane things for insane reasons. We've seen this happen in real life before, and sadly we've seen it happen. And it's like, I'm not saying it's like pointing at people. At least I don't think it means to. I think that's what the thing with having the Joker as the main character is, like, it can make people think that. Like, that's why I think Joker works so well with Batman, who, for lack of a better term, is also nuts. He's a grown man that dresses as a bat and beats the shit out of people at night, with his butler and his many children wards as Robins and Batgirls. He's insane, but...
So,
I guess that's like the other side of mental illness is a more positive version. But it comes down to being a comic book, and you definitely can tell they originated him, maybe not thinking through mental illness as much as they should have.
So I want to ask you, do you think, because you've seen the other movies as well,
Yeah.
do you think that it's right of them, right or wrong, or maybe you're just in between, that in this movie they took a very solidified view of, hey, this is exactly why he acts the way that he does? Or do you think they should have just left it as, yep, he's nuts, that's all?
No, I think...
Goodbye.
Yeah, alright, that's over. He's nuts. No, I think it's good to, like, really look into a character like the Joker, because I think people need to understand also, while the Joker has sympathetic motives in real life, he is Batman's villain. Like, this is a character, if you've seen him in the comics, is a abhorrent monster, and I don't think they mean to make other mentally ill people like this. I think they took sympathetic means and gave it to a character who, if you look at his decade through the comics, is a soulless, destructive abomination of a man.
Right.
That's who the Joker is. Like, he's supposed to be this evil monster. That's why some people didn't even want it to come out, because they like having the Joker with no identity. And that's why maybe some people were like, I don't like it, not because it's, like for the political reasons, because I like seeing the Joker with no identity in my comics, in my Christopher Nolan movie, or any incarnation.
So kind of on the other side of things, letting go of the people that have the mental illness and what issues it could cause there. Do you think that instead of people saying, hey, this is horrible mental illness, it shouldn't be portrayed, do you think there's an other side or another group of people that watch the movie and think, you know what? With everything that's going on in the world, maybe he's not crazy. Maybe this is how people should act. Maybe I should go into a theater. Maybe I should start my own riot.
I mean...
Throwback to 2012.
Yeah, so 2012, a big reason people were scared of this movie. In fact, people, leading up to this movie's release, the police were like serious, like, oh, you can't wear makeup, you can't dress up for this movie, because in 2012, when The Dark Knight Rises, the conclusion to Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy came out, a lunatic went into a theater and shot up the place. Like, he just attacked people with a gun, and it was just a terrible thing. It was just one of way too many shootings that have happened ever since then in this country. It's just a terrible thing that's happened. And it's like, people have taken back to that. And people have been wondering, yeah, what you've said, this has been like a debate that's gone on for a while now, like in the 90s, and especially around the 90s. Does violence in the media, in video games, in books, in movies, does it cause people to go crazy? And it's hard to say. I kind of swing towards no. I think it's more towards the idea that's like, I think it's more that one person looks at this and just is already not right, and then he takes action. I don't think his actions represent what that media was trying to do. I think that's just a sole person who did this. Other version of this would be the assassination of John Lennon, when the guy allegedly, he read Catcher in the Rye, and yeah, South Park talked about that. Butters killed John Lennon. Not to make light of this, but just, it's good to keep some levity and serious talk, I've always felt. But like, people have been wondering, like, with that, there's people have said the guy who shot Ronald Reagan watched Taxi Driver, and it's like, I don't know, like, if we're going to continue to say famous people getting killed, and it's like, well, they did it because he read a book or saw a movie, it's like, well, John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln, there were no movies back then, that was just because he was an asshole. But, I don't know, that might be simplifying it a bit too much. What do you think? Help me out here.
I think there's certain media that can push people a little bit further. And I think it's very important that whenever something like that comes across, don't ban the media. Don't ever ban the media. Look at it, read it. Like, for example, John Lennon, Catcher in the Rye. If you go through and you look at the Catcher in the Rye, you can see a kid that is doing absolutely horrible, hates himself, hates most things in life.
Yeah.
And just has a very detrimental mindset towards himself. So I think that in some ways it can be a trigger for some people, that whenever they do see something like that they can go, that's actually me. And I think the case is the same for the Joker as well, in that people are going to see it and they're going to think, hey, this actually is a just cause. This is something that I would fight for. And because they already have that background of, having mental issues, oftentimes they will actually go through with what they're thinking. So I think some media that will actually show a brighter message, or a bigger message rather. But regular things like, say, Call of Duty, for example.
Yeah.
Like, that's been something that parents and people have been saying for years causes violence.
Even back to, like, Mortal Kombat
right.
in its earliest days.
And it's like, not necessarily because there's no outright message there. It's just showing violence. I don't think showing violence to people will turn them that way. But showing that violence that's relative to something else, I think that can.
I see what you mean.
But it's also not right to fully ban that, because there's a lot of people that truly do enjoy it and they like talking about it like we're doing right now.
Not just enjoy it, but I think you can learn from it. Because I think there are a lot bigger messages in this movie than just trying... Because obviously the filmmakers wouldn't actually try to inspire people to cause hateful acts. I think they're trying to inspire people to look at this and say... I think they're trying to use Arthur Fleck as... This is a... scary. Maybe they're even using what you're saying. Like, this could happen. Some guy like Arthur Fleck, who's been just broken down by society, who's been beaten down, literally, as we see in the beginning of the movie, he just hates his life, and he ends up becoming this dark person who just kind of does these really awful acts, like shooting people live on camera, like Robert De Niro's character, or shooting people in a subway. Just really dark stuff. And it's like, I think they want to show that, like, this is happening, but we don't support it. We're trying to be like, you should be, not scared, but more like, maybe even scared, to try to fight, to fix the system so something like this wouldn't happen. And it's using a comic book character to prop this up, perhaps. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of, yeah.
One kind of problematic thing that I saw in the movie, and again, still a big fan of the movie, but something that I thought was a little bit distasteful and kind of originally, and I don't want to keep, beating the dead horse about mental illness and how it's problematic and how they portrayed it, but another thing that they showed was, there's a lot of things that the Joker will say, or Arthur, rather, a lot of things that he says that hits home for a lot of viewers. Like, there was one scene that you could see him writing in his book, and kind of quickly, they show it, but not really. And it says something along the lines of, the hardest part of having mental illness is everyone expects you to behave as if you don't.
Yeah.
There are certain quotes like that make you think, maybe this guy isn't a bad guy. And again, it's problematic because you have the first few scenes of, hey, he's really fucking struggling. He's going through a lot right now. Right. And then turning into a monster. I
guess in this story, it's like, in turning and wanting to be, I guess, realistic, they don't want... this is the Joker. I bring it back to, he's always been a monster in the comics. I guess there's question for why people do it there, make him so evil there, but, like, a big thing is, like, there's never really been a definitive origin. And this isn't really a definitive origin, it's just one origin that people have put together. There have been other origins across different mediums. One famous one is The Killing Joke. Another one would be the 89 Batman, where he was a gangster, played by Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. That shit
movie. I liked it, but fuck you. Anyway, it was fun.
How did you feel about his mother in the movie?
She's interesting. It's like, there's a big subplot about whether or not he's the son of Bruce Wayne, which son of Thomas Wayne. I really hope he's not. I think because she's also clearly mentally ill, so it's supposed to be like, I guess you could say he's genetically receiving some problems from his mother, who is, they say she's narcissistic, they say she's, what was else they called her?
I can't remember the other one.
Yeah, but there was something else. Yeah, narcissism in the sense that she had her son live with her and tend to her.
Yeah.
For her in her elderly state, and it's like instead of letting him live his own life, and just
what did you feel about her diagnosis? Because I've read a lot of different kind of theories about her as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of a weird example, and one that I kind of questioned even while watching the movie, and I could be horribly wrong in saying this, but I remember various scenes of hey, he's directly feeding her, hey, he's giving her a bath.
Mm-hmm.
A few scenes later. Shit, she's dancing in the living room with him.
Yeah.
How much help does she need?
Yeah, you have a point. Like, it's like she just has her son doing this all for her. She's very obsessive. She thinks Thomas Wayne is like actual family to her, and which obviously because she thinks that she had an affair with him, which he goes to Arkham Asylum, because she was admitted there, he looks at the file, it says he's adopted, but it could have been forged, which I feel like that whole arc is meant to really bring home the original idea that you don't know his true origin. Like, if he is adopted by Penny Fleck and she's not genetically his son, he's not genetically her son, then that means he's someone else's kid, which means it wouldn't really have been genetic. It would have just been like her weird and abusive bringing up of him just turned him into this. So it's like, there's a lot of different ways this could have been interpreted, which I like. I like that they kind of still keep him in the dark as a person. Like, you don't really know his true backstory, like who his true parents are. But, yeah, there's a lot of just dark stuff dealing with the character of Penny Fleck, the mother. And she... It's all interesting stuff that people can just debate on forever. Yeah, I mean...
As people always will.
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. I think this is a film that should be talked about for a while. I think it offers a lot of insightful stuff. And I don't know, I feel like if people want to just dismiss it as bad or propaganda for violence, I think that's irresponsible, I think. I don't know. As some people have called this movie irresponsible. I remember there's a bunch of like Oscar voter quotes, because a lot of people have been wondering, will this get an Oscar nomination? I think Joaquin Phoenix deserves it for his portrayal of Arthur and all the stuff that he did as the Joker. But people have gone from saying it's outstanding to irresponsible to, with some people even trying to avoid it. This is from like the Hollywood Reporter I'm reading from. And it's like, people have been saying things like, let's see, Chris Rock and Michael Moore have both praised it on Twitter. And then you have like different Academy voters saying like, it was great, I loved it. Or it's like, I saw the film and like my stomach is still churning. Like they're so like, they just don't like it. They've been taken aback by it. I mean, there's a whole list of these things. I wouldn't want to read them all because they're kind of lengthy, but it's just, Oscar voters are very torn by whether or not this film is good or not, and I don't know.
There's a lot of people that have also called the movie childish just as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading one review, and it was from someone on Twitter, so, obviously it's a good review if he can send it on Twitter, but still, called it childish because supposedly they were just looking for shock value.
Right.
There's a difference between shock value and having something that, just simply speaking, is shocking, but going more in depth with it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think it's shock value. I think there's a lot more deeper things they're trying to talk about in this than just
actually starting a dialogue rather than just,
yeah,
hey, look, he killed somebody. Okay, bye.
Which, I mean, like, other movies have been nominated before that have dealt with even way darker, harsher material, like, and granted, they've all been met with their own version of controversy. A Clockwork Orange is a big one. A lot of Stanley Kubrick's films have dark subject matter. You have a lot of Martin Scorsese's films, which this film draws from a lot. Two in particular, The King of Comedy, obviously, because it's the Joker, and Taxi Driver. A lot of scenes with Arthur Fleck talking to himself with a gun. Very similar to Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro's in the damn movie, for crying out loud. It's produced by Scorsese. Yeah, there's Scorsese fingerprints all over this film. Like, it's no accident that it's so reminiscent of this. And those films have been met with tons of critical praise and controversy.
So I did just read one thing, and I am going to read it in full because it's not that lengthy.
Okay.
And I think it really does kind of show what this movie has done in society and where society stands. Okay. I haven't seen it yet, but when I do see it, I will be sitting right next to the exit. So crazy I have to think like this, but we have to.
Damn. Damn, that's from a female member of the music branch. This is, again, another Oscar voter quote. Ugh. What do you think of that?
Kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, about what happened in 2012.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very unfortunate that people have to think like this, and I think in some circumstance, and I don't want to call people out and say that people make it worse than what it seems, and I don't want to get a lot of flack for that.
Right.
But I think in some circumstances people do. I don't think things are as bad as what it seems, and I think the media portrays a lot of what goes on as being a lot worse than what it is. I think it's kind of the dirty laundry of media. Mm-hmm. Because it's more interesting than, hey, we went to go see the Joker, had a good time, nothing happened.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, you could be right there. This guy, I mean, we don't really know how she was feeling when she said that. Maybe she actually did feel like she was scared of it, or maybe
I'm sure she was. I don't think that her comment itself was made with any ill intent, but I think that people feel that way because of almost unnecessary fear.
Right.
Because we're talking about something, again, with this specific issue, and we're not going to go into the full discussion of school shootings and everything like that. It's something that needs to be discussed, but not in terms of right now. Mm-hmm. As far as a shooting at a movie theater, we keep discussing one that happened back in 2012.
Right.
I understand that it's the same movie, or at least kind of the same series, but I don't think that it's right to kind of live your life in fear and worry about what could happen.
Wow. No, I think you have a point there. I like kind of what you were saying. I think people... I think people have a right to, feel how they feel, be, scared if they want. Because, there are, it's weird to think that could happen in a movie theater, a place that is supposed to be showing people what cinema's all about and everything, and then something tragic and terrible happens. There's a lot of strange things in this world, and
I guess where my mind kind of goes to is, I know, and we see it time and time again, and like I said earlier, I don't want to go deep into discussion about school shootings and things like that. But a lot of the reason why those things happen is because they're clinging for attention. So I guess in my own...
The shooter, you mean?
Yeah. I guess... Yeah, I'm sorry. Absolutely the shooter. I guess in my own kind of weird mindset, I think giving those people the attention that they desperately wanted and needed,
right,
I kind of view it as letting them win.
Of course.
And I feel like that's why I go off and be like, oh, no, not afraid. I'm going. I don't care.
You want to stand up? Yeah, I get what you mean. That's a good thing. I think that's a good way to look at some things like that. Like not letting fear just control how people feel.
I feel like we're talking about it now. Don't let fear control your life.
Pennywise. There's nothing scary.
Your fear will kill you.
There's nothing scary about Pennywise.
Pennywise is terrifying.
Am I not real enough for you?
Yes, you're real. Please leave me alone.
Turned to an old naked lady and ran at the screen. You stupid fucking movie. Where was my damn turtle?
Probably just more afraid of the wrinkles than the actual demon.
Oh god, yeah, you're not wrong. Honestly, it might not even have been Pennywise. It could have just been some regular old lady running around. Mm-hmm. There's no proof. That's what old people do. Levity.
I haven't had my biscuit.
Man, please.
Put your gown back on. No, I think it's good to have some levity. Because this is it's a deep conversation. It's something that's good that people talk about. I'd like to talk honestly about more type of this stuff. I know you guys won't leave any goddamn comments because none of you have, but oh well. Hopefully we can get more attention and people can be like, oh, okay, that's what he meant. Stuff like that. And maybe, I don't know, interact. But in any case, yeah, what do you think? Anything else you have to say? Anything more itching at your brain you want to talk about? Nah.
That's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Well, I'd like to thank you guys for listening. This is a lengthy one. It's a pretty long boy. But hope you stuck around. Hope you enjoyed it. And remember, what's something what's something clever I should
We
end
planned
on?
these out really well.
I planned this out real well. I forgot my conclusion. Just, don't let fear control your life. Live your life how you want. And just make good choices.
Right.
Yeah.
And just remember, sometimes your life can be a tragedy. Just treat it like a fucking comedy.
Oh my god.
And with that, we'll leave you.
I do sound like him.